Hi, it's Mildred Songbird in New York City, Eva Evangeline Einstein. I have some leftover notes to read to you. I was doing a video earlier and I didn't get to it, so I'm going to do it now. It says Trump's done tremendous good, but he's influenced by fake Jews, including his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and the AIPAC lobbyist. Okay, so sing Birdsong's brother, Will Smith, Adam and Eve's perfect son for president. Okay? You ain't never had a friend like me. Will Smith sings to his mother Eve, now the Michelle Birdsong, on Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show. Will Smith sings this. Check this out. It's really wonderful how real he is, how honest he is, and just gives of himself. He's not putting on airs. He's not trying to impress. He's actually feeling the words as he sings them. I read energy. I'm an empath. I can tell when somebody's faking, when somebody's putting on an act, and when somebody's feeling what they're doing. And Will Smith, when he sings, "You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me," on the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show, he means it. Okay, Will Smith was the founding father, John Hancock, the first to sign the Declaration of Independence. The first founding father to sign the Declaration of Independence, he was Thomas of Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas. Just like Aquarius, right? This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. And he's a Libra. Will Smith is a Libra. And he was Jesus Christ's disciple, St. Thomas the Apostle. He'll make a fine president. I know he will. He cares about this country. Okay, let's see. Where do we begin? Let's go up here. Jesus Christ, Gurinder Singh, and his wife, Mary, the Michelle Birdsong, Eve, daughter of the sun, Angel Evangeline, Eve's angel line, Eve's line of angels, are working as hard as humanly and superhumanly possible to save the cursed class, the blacks, from themselves. Okay? Now, this is Star Parker. Where's her name? Gurinder Singh, Star Parker, projection. Star Parker, born November 24th, 1956. She is a Sagittarius. She was a former welfare recipient, partying in Venice Beach, and one day it occurred to her, somebody's paying for this, and she reformed herself and became a productive citizen and founded the Center for Urban Renewal and Education called CURE. She's against gay marriage, as am I, abortion, as am I, contraception. Like I said, she was on welfare, and now she's a self-supporting, respectable woman. She's a Republican American syndicated columnist, a conservative political activist. She ran for Congress. Black masses brainwashed. Don't vote for blacks who are not Democrats. Black masses suffer from Stockholm Syndrome. They side with those who are against them and hate and smear those who try to help them. The curse, they hate themselves. They are their own worst enemy. They are punishing themselves for having killed their Messiah, Jesus Christ, when they were the original Jews. Okay, Aquarius rising. That's my rising sign, Aquarius. Details of speech. I gave a speech when I was 13 years old at the, I think I wrote that down somewhere. Well, so I'll just tell you about it. When I was, it's called, Why Should We Struggle for Freedom? Is it because we're black? Black was a taboo word when I was growing up in the 50s. I said it because my mother the beautiful, intelligent mother of mine said it to her boyfriend, "You're a black motherfucker." And he had a gun, he shot at her. And she said, "You're another black motherfucker." And he said, "I'm not going to kill you, frog, you're crazy." So, but I recall her courage in saying that. So when it was time for me to give a speech, I simply said, is that the problem? We're black and nobody wants to say it? I'll say it. And then I said, what about Dr. George Washington Carver? He's black, but he's a very successful, productive member of society. He's a professor at Tuskegee Institute, founded by Booker T. Washington, who was my husband when he was President James Madison. And I said, what about Mary Bethune? And she was my sister, Maria Cott, who works here at St. Francis of Assisi, Residence 3. And she was an American educator who either founded a college or they named a college after her. And what about her? She was making it. She was black. What about Marian Anderson? I actually had been Marian Anderson, the opera diva. Why is she making it? It was so, we're crippled because we're black. So I raised that question, and Donald Jenkins, who was very dark-skinned, I was light-skinned, and that took courage for me to say, because light-skinned people really weren't allowed to say black. But Donald Jenkins came to me afterwards and said that he had heard about my speech and could he borrow it from me. He'd like to deliver it. He was senior class. He wasn't senior. He was the class president. And I said, of course you can borrow it. So he borrowed my speech. I had wondered if they were going to throw something at me as I stood there giving the speech. I didn't know what the reaction would be. But Gwendolyn Elliott and somebody else came over to me and patted me on the back for the speech. They liked the speech. So that was the beginning of my speaking out. It was in the 50s, before the onset of the civil rights movement. Okay. Julian Bond, light skin, said, but he told a joke, I think it was on Saturday Night Live, that light-skinned blacks were smarter than dark-skinned blacks, and everybody laughed. But recently, you're not allowed to say things like that, so he apologized for saying it, yet it's true. You'll notice that disproportionately light-skinned black people are successful in the world. Why that is, maybe they have the DNA of white people in them, because the black people have the lowest DNA in the country. It's 85. The Army won't take you any less than that. The Africans have a DNA of 70. The Aborigines have a IQ I'm talking about. I'm saying DNA, I'm talking about IQs. The Aborigines have an IQ of 60. And you can see how people live. White people have an IQ of 100. Asians, a little over 100. Ashkenazi Jews, who was Einstein, was an Ashkenazi Jew, 140 something. They're the smartest group in the world. Okay, so I sat in at Woolworths when I was 13, 14, 15, because I was liking what Dr. King was doing on the Fisk University Freedom Riders. They were sitting in at lunch counters and asking that we be included in the society, that we be integrated into the society, because the Jim Crow laws, the laws of segregation, were in effect, and we couldn't drink from certain water fountains. We couldn't sit in the front of the bus, and a big sign on the bus in Clarksville, Tennessee, where I lived, that said blacks in colored. It said in black. It was black enamel paint, big block letters, colored in rear. And it was humiliating. I didn't know why that was true. Why does my mother have to sit in the back of the bus? My mother is the most beautiful woman ever lived in this town. She was a valedictorian of her class. Why can't she go to Austin Peay State College? My father, Reverend Dr. Wilbur Daniel, Daniel in the Lion Den integrated the graduate school of Austin Peay State College. I didn't even know he was my father till recently when Gurinder Singh told me, Jesus Christ. And I put the pieces together and I saw that he was my father. Birth data unknown. Frederick Douglass. It's about Frederick Douglass. Things went wrong because the country didn't listen to Frederick Douglass, Aquarius. Well, he didn't know his birthday, but he celebrated his birthday on Valentine's Day, February 14th. And he warned his closest friend, Abraham Lincoln, President Lincoln, born February 12th, Aquarius, don't treat black people any different now that you've freed them from being slaves. Now, I want to say that Gurinder Singh is St. Valentine, okay? And, yeah, so they started giving preferential treatment to black people, letting them go to college, fancy, prestigious colleges, when qualified white people were not allowed to go to college. So that's exactly what Frederick Douglass was saying. Don't let that happen. And so black people just kept demanding, instead of taking advantage of the opportunities they got from the Civil Rights Act of 1964, brought about by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Dwight David Eisenhower, Harry Truman, Everett Dirksen, a Republican. All these people brought about the Civil Rights Bill. So instead of the black people saying, oh, okay, now we can stop fighting for rights because we have our rights, let's take advantage of the opportunities. Let's get a good education. Let's get good jobs. Let's be good husbands and fathers. Let's live and keep our neighborhoods nice. Instead of them doing that, they got Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all these and Black Panthers and all these nonsensical groups. We don't even need them, turning violent and destroying monuments of great men who have contributed to make the society what it is. And so, you see, in Salwan Singh, the great master, Michael John Spears, said we move too slowly from one thing to the next. So instead of moving from the Civil Rights Bill to taking advantage of the opportunities, they just kept acting like the Civil Rights Bill had never been passed and wasn't being enforced, which it is being enforced. Black people are not discriminated against. White people are discriminated against. White men are smeared, and they built the damn country. And white conservatives and black conservatives are discriminated against. So that the whole thing went haywire because they didn't have the leadership to take them to grasp the opportunities. They just had troublemakers like what's the name, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, which this intelligent man, Eve's brother, Larry Elder, his father was Thomas Sowell. And Larry Elder wrote this book, Stupid Black Men, How to Play the Race Card, trying to tell people about Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton that they're stupid black men. Now we know they're cursed. They're the original Jews, and hopefully they'll go to Israel and they'll teach them how to, be productive people. All right. Let's see, what else? So I said I sat in at Woolworths, and what happened was my sister Helen Long, she was one to Helen Anderson at the time, was washing dishes in the kitchen of Woolworths. I didn't know that, so she came out and saw me, and she said, "Girl, go home." I didn't go home. I usually obeyed her, but I sat there because I really liked the idea of us having rights. I never thought we would. I thought we'd always be second-class citizens, the untouchables of America. But when Dr. King, they were sitting in and being mistreated and everything, but they remained nonviolent. I liked them, so I sat there nonviolently ordering a banana split. Eventually I went home, but I didn't go home right away. So the white girl counter workers just walked past me, ignoring me. Okay, what's this? Over here we have the book, The Lost Constitution, about Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who has been so abused. He was abused during his hearings. He's always been abused. He has a white wife who's an activist, and a very good wife, I think. He was born June 23rd, 1948. He's a Gemini Cancer. He's on 2 signs on a cusp. Okay, Dr. Alveda King, Dr. Martin Luther King's niece, was courageous and went to Glenn Beck, who was President George Washington. Eve was his wife, Martha Washington. Glenn Beck had a rally. George Washington is now Glenn Beck. He had a rally to restore honor, and stupid Al Sharpton tried to stop him for having this rally because Glenn Beck's hero is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I think he had it on the day Dr. King had his rally to honor Dr. King. And Dr. Alveda King stood with George Washington, stood with Glenn Beck, and showed up there. She brought a whole lot of other people, but that was fine. And they prayed together. And it was a beautiful rally to restore honor. If you check it out, it was on YouTube. There's probably a DVD, you can check it out, because it's the most beautiful rally I've ever seen. And it was hundreds of thousands of people there. She was born January 22nd. She's on the cusp. 2 signs, so again, Capricorn and Aquarius. Okay, Dr. Reverend Jesse Jackson. What am I saying about him? The Antidote. No, Reverend Jesse Peterson. This is Jesse Peterson. Here he is. His book is called The Antidote. He was born May 22nd, 1948. He's on the cusp of Taurus and Gemini's 2 signs. He was the son of St. Peter, who was retired Lieutenant General John Hopper. He is my cousin this life. When he was St. Peter, I was his daughter. Reverend Jesse Peterson's brother was my brother, and our other brother was Dr. Jordan Peterson, who is Mohammed. He's Nietzsche. He's Dr. Carl Jung. I was Emma Jung, his wife, and he was Dostoevsky, the novelist. Okay, Jesse Peterson has a show on Newsmax TV, and he hosts a radio program every day. Okay, drop the phone. Dr. Walter E. Williams is another black. All these are black people. I hope you know that. These are the productive, the good black people, the positive black people. Dr. Walter E. Williams was born March 31st, 1936. He's in Aries. He did a really nice video for Prager University where it's animated. He's explaining capitalism. I wish you'd check it out. It's really good. It's probably called Capitalism versus Socialism because it's really good. And basically it just says that capitalism, you earn what you get. And in socialism, they take from the people who earn and give it to the people who don't earn. And so socialism is inherently unfair. And it's never worked anywhere. In Venezuela, they're starving. They're selling their children for food. It's socialism. Dr. Thomas Sowell was born June 30th, 1930. What's that say? Oh, he's a Cancer, right. So is America a Cancer. So is my grandson, Seth Ranzinger, who was Mr. Rogers. He was Alexander Graham Bell. He was Sami G, the Saint of Agra. He was born on July 4th. So was Sing Bird's song When He Was Will Wright, Jesus Christ Projection, was born July 4th. This life he's born on, he's two signs. He's born October 22nd. He's a Libra Scorpio. Okay, and he's intense, but he's intense for the right way. Dr. Sowell is a professor at Stanford University. He's also worked at the University of Chicago and Harvard. He said at the University of Chicago, they don't mess around. You can't just say something. You have to have proof. You have to have testimony from other people. At Harvard, you can just say something and they just take it as truth, which is not reliable. Eve's father, he's an economist. His book is called Black Rednecks and White Liberals. He has 25 books, but that's one of the books I think it's important to read. Okay, attorney Larry Elder. I just showed you Larry. He had a show on ABC Radio for many years, but now he's been banned. I hope they give him another show on radio. Attorney Larry Elder, born April 27th, 1952. What is that? Taurus? That's Taurus. His book, Stupid Black Men. Stacey Dash, born, now she's an actress, a very brave actress. You know, she came out as for Trump conservatives, and they ban people in Hollywood who do that. There's another one, a brave. So this is James Wood. He's an Aries. He speaks on Twitter. He's one of the sharpest people who tweet. You know, his tweets are extraordinary on Twitter. He's an actor in Hollywood who speaks up for the truth. So does Kelsey Grammer. So does John Voight. You know, there are some who speak up, and this is Candace Owens. She's kind of new on the scene, and she's a very brave black woman, very smart, very sharp. And this is Kim Blackwell, born February 28th. That's Pisces, right? 1948. He's a black hero. What does that say? Husband of Eve, Arthur. Lieutenant Colonel Allen West. He's a war hero who served his country for 22 years before retiring. His book is called Guardian of the Republic. He was able to obtain information to save his men, though suffering for it. He was fined for doing what he had to do to save his men. That's the Army bureaucracy. Deneen Borelli is an author. Her book is called Blacklash, and she was discriminated against by the NAACP because she's a conservative. They wouldn't allow her into the big room. She had to stay in the basement. And this is, talk about revert, you know, this incredible, right? Black people doing this to black people. So, May 28th, she was born, 1964, she was a Gemini. This is a song, Aquarius, from the musical, the movie Hair. Hair is an issue in the black community. On the album What It Is, Edwin Birdsong and I plaited his hair into small braids in the 1970, late 60s, 1970, and into Fillmore East, Edwin put Stevie Wonder's hand in his hair so he could feel the plaits, and then Steve started wearing plaits, and then at a Farrakhan rally uptown Harlem at the Armory, Edwin was supposed to perform It Ain't No Fun Being a Welfare Recipient, which he performed in Washington. That's him, and that's the piano. There's hundreds of thousands of people. This was a picture on the cover of New York Times. He performed it there, but they didn't let him perform it at the Farrakhan rally. But Nina Simone was there, and she came over and put her fingers in Edwin's hair. Next thing I know, she was wearing plaits. Next thing I know, everybody was wearing plaits. Star Parker was wearing plaits. This is a picture of Star Parker's books. Uncle Sam's Plantation. She's trying to tell people, get off the government dole. They're going to keep you poor. You're never going to have enough money. And this is another one of her books. Pimps, Whores, and Welfare Brats. So these are her books. You know, black people stopped reading. I don't know if they ever did read, but they should read books because all these people who have made it have written books. And you can learn how to make it in this culture by reading how other people made it. Glenn, what's his name? Dr. Benjamin Carson is, let's see. Here we go. Masses of black people, due to lacking strong positive leadership after Dr. King was killed, moved too slowly from being second-class citizens to becoming first-class citizens like some few did. And I've been telling you about those few. Dr. Benjamin Carson, born September 18, 1951, a Virgo from a fatherless home, mother who suffered from mental illness and could not read. He became the director of pediatric neurosurgery, the boss of brain surgeons like himself, and is now the head of the Housing and Urban Development Agency under President Trump. And he became a brain surgeon because his mother forced him. She worked cleaning house, and she saw the man she worked for had a whole bunch of books. So she thought, aha, books is the answer. So she had her kids turn off the TV and go to the library and get books, 2 books a week. And they had to start reading instead of playing outside, goofing off. Dr. Carson said at first they hated it, but then he got to liking reading. And while reading, he read Booker T. Washington's biography, for one, the founder of Tuskegee Institute. He was Lionel Richie, and he was also James Madison was my husband when I was Eve and he was president. And anyway, Dr. Carson said he realized while reading that he could be anything he wanted to be. And see, that's the thing about black people not reading and not getting their education. This has made them just dirt poor, destitute, living in the worst condition in the world, poverty. But anyway, we've already solved that. We're going to send them to Israel. The black people were the original Jews who killed Christ, and they've been cursing themselves, suffering, depriving themselves of all the blessings in the world. And so they deserve Israel because it's supposed to be for the Jews. So they're going to make that happen. Okay, I think that, did I get everything on here? I think I did. Oh, I told you everything on my list. Okay. I'm just checking. Yeah, okay, so this is my Red Songbird in New York City. Read some books by some conservatives. Okay, so